Hey there, George the Tech. Sometimes your computer just doesn't want to charge all the time, and it's super frustrating. It might not be the biggest deal you might imagine. If you have a MacBook Air M1, like I have here, this particular computer is totally repairable in the charging area because the ports, the USB-C ports that it has, are on their own little board. They're not actually part of the system board.
George the Tech.
So in my left hand here is the replacement part for the two USB-C charging ports right here. I'm going to install this here in my girlfriend's computer, and we're going to see together how hard it is to do. Now I've got iFixit on my side as well. I can always refer to that and look at their instructions, but based on how simple this is, just a socketed part that screws in, this should be a piece of cake. We're going to find out here in just a second. So right now, the problem is that the computer just charges very sporadically and randomly. It's very irritating. And $120 Apple wants to charge us to repair it. So I thought it's worth a shot. So we're going to do it right now. Now, first thing is first is you've got to have the right tools. Do not try to use Torx or any Phillips screwdrivers that you might have laying around. They're going to ruin the screws. You have to get what's called pentalobe screwdrivers. And these things are super tiny. I have a little tiny kit from a company called Jacamy right here, which includes those pentalobe screwdrivers and this set of bits. So we're going to be using those to take this thing apart. But iFixit.com has the tools as well as I said, all the instructions. So let's see how it goes. All right, so I've got my pentalobe screwdriver. This is a 1.2 size bit according to what's printed on there. And it seems to be the perfect fit for these tiny little pentalobe screws. So we're going to go ahead and take these all out right now. I'm not even going to use the handle because that handle is so big, I might over torque the screws when I put them back in. Sometimes having a smaller handle is better. And what I'm going to do is I'm assuming they're all the same, but they may not be. So I'm going to arrange them in my tray of parts over here. I'm going to arrange them in the same essential sequence and orientation that they are when I take them out. Okay, so that's the 4 long screws across the back. Ah, yes, the left edge screw in the middle is a little stubby screw, and I have a feeling the front ones are the same. Yep. The front ones along the front edge are all little stubby guys. So we're going to put them again in the same orientation. I take them out. And by the way, this is not my first rodeo taking apart MacBooks. So I am doing this with a bit of confidence. But I understand this could be a little trepidatious for you, but if the computer's out of warranty, there's not much to lose here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and pop this lid off. There's some degree of adhesive on it, so we're popping that free now. Okay, here we go. We're inside. And you can see that everything is intact. And what might be a good idea, if it is possible to do, it might be a good idea to detach the battery. So I'm going to take a real quick look and see what it takes to unplug the battery pack from the main board, if it's possible, because that seems to me like a wise idea. So here I am, I'm on iFixit. I'm looking at the late 2020 MacBook Air M1, and I'm following along here. Remove the screws. It said you should disable your auto boot feature. I'm not using auto boot, but it's good to know. We'll use the P5 driver, which again, in my kit is the 1.2 is what they call it. We're going to remove those screws. Yes, just as I thought, it says disconnect the battery. So I'm going to go grab my spudger tool, which is a very nice little plastic lever for prying things. If you don't have one of these, you can use something else that's gentle and plastic. I wouldn't use anything metal. And you can pop that off the board and disconnect the battery. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, so it said to remove the battery connector from the board. So we're definitely going to do that. That's this guy right here. We'll use a spudger, Okay, this one's giving me a little trouble, so I'm going to refer back to my iFixit again and double check and make sure I'm trying to operate this connector correctly. Okay, yeah, because of the way I have the computer oriented here so you guys can see it, it was hard for me to see this little black lever that pops up with the spudger. That little handle comes up, and now this detaches the battery from the system. So now the battery's detached. Now that the battery's removed, we can remove the USB-C cover, and that's using the Torx screw. So we'll find a matching Torx. I think it was a T5 if memory served. There it is, T5. Tiny, teeny, weeny little screws. Holy smokes, these are small. Never do this over a rug. Don't do it over your lap. Definitely do this on a table with a decent amount of light. Now we can remove the screws holding the USB-C port assembly in place. We're going to pry this off with our spudger. That disconnects the port connector from the board. We're going to use our T5 to remove the screws that attach to the board. Pretty big, very strong screws because that takes a lot of abuse, right? I feel like iFixit may have left a step out because this thing seems captured underneath two other little screwed on covers right here. Looking at how this looks, it seems difficult to get this out from under what's captivating it. So I'm going to take a step back again and maybe check one other resource to make sure I'm not making any mistakes here. Disconnecting the USB board just uses two Torx screws. Pop off the cover. Use the spudger to pry the USB-C connector up and out of the socket. Remove the board. Use a pair of tweezers to remove the USB-C board. It's showing tweezers. I have that in my repair kit. And then you just reverse the whole thing when you go back the other direction. They do not show any additional disassembly here at all. It just says use tweezers to remove board. So, and I'm going to do this as gently as I can. But it seems like this board here, which I believe is the system board itself, the main board of the computer, I believe that is trapping it underneath. Okay, well, with a fair amount of forcing, I did get it to come out. Now, it could be that there's nothing actually technically wrong with this thing. Could be that it's just dirty. The connectors are clearly dirty. There's maybe a little bit of arcing from the charge connection, causing a little arc and a little bit of carbon buildup on these. So these might be actually okay. They just might need a cleaning. But I already spent the $10. Just going to put the fresh one in. Interestingly, much easier to put back in than it was to get it out. Make sure you get that connector seated in the right place. It's a little bit pesky because the ribbon wire is secure, or rather stiff, so it doesn't want to settle in easily. All right, now we can use the two main screws, mounting screws that secures the port back in place. And then the cover, which puts pressure on those connectors Yes, it does. It goes silver side down. And now we are going to use those extremely tiny screws with a T5 Torx. I may actually try to place these screws with this pair of tweezers, but I do not have high hopes. Well, it looks like that worked. So I'm not going to tighten that one entirely until the other one is in place. That will usually help make it easier. Now, I just dropped that tiny microscopic screw. It bounced and landed inside the computer. I dumped it out over the tray. It didn't fall in the tray. It fell next to the tray. And by some dumb luck, I found it. Okay, it looks like I got the screw onto the head of the tool. Did I? Maybe not. It looks like the magnet's holding it in place. That was tough. Give it a last little torque. Now, I'm not using the handle and the driver. I'm just using the shaft. That's it, because I don't want to over torque those screws. Okay. We'll go ahead and reattach the battery. When I reattach the battery, there's a chance it might power on. We'll have to see what happens here. Okay, that little handle that helps you remove it also serves to lock it down onto the board. Okay. Last stage of the game is just put the cover back on, screw it back on, and then do a charge test. So we'll do that in a second here. Let me just put it back together, and then we'll go ahead and plug it in and do a charge test. All right, computer's off right now. I'm going to plug in the power. Yes, that seems to be a good sign, because as soon as I put in the power, within a few seconds, the computer powered on and woke up. And sure enough, the charge indicator on the screen is lit up saying it's charging. I'll unplug it, plug it into the other charge port. Boom, instant. It definitely was the fact that the charge USB-C cord just got corroded and dirty from just repeat use. And I know there exists little kits you can get that have the right size devices to clean these while they're inside the computer. Obviously, once they're taken out, it's way easier to clean these now because you can get to them really easily. So I'll clean this and I'll put it in my spare parts bin for the next time my computer, which is a little bit newer, needs replacement. Now, if with my luck, being the M2, it's a different part, but whatever. I'll just keep it around just in case. There you go. Success, and I'll have a happy girlfriend now. As you can see, it's only a few steps. It's not very scary, no soldering, just a very specialized screwdriver that you need to get. And if you do need to get it, definitely check it out from iFixit, because these guys supply all these repair instructions for free, just funded by folks buying tools and parts from them. Thanks for watching, everybody. George the Tech. Never repair computers on this channel, but content is king, and I hope that was helpful and maybe took a little bit of the apprehension around doing this kind of repair from you. All right? Thanks for listening. George the Tech, out.